everyone, Loremaster of Sotek here, and I am so excited to talk about this. I have been wanting to talk about this for a few days, but I've just been really busy the past few, at least the last couple days, due to some Age of Sigmar tournaments that I went to, and then I haven't been feeling well lately, but that's not gonna hold me back. That's not gonna hold back the hype that is firing up my soul at the release of this article. I have not actually gotten to sit down and read it. I've only kind of very briefly glanced over it after it was announced, and now I'm here to do my live kind of feels about it, and I'm very, very excited. So it has been very quiet on Warhammer the Old World front for a good few months now. I think it's been about 6 months since we got the last big update, and it was really just kind of, they put out a map and then maybe mentioned a couple little things, but there wasn't really anything big. And now we're finally getting something really, really nice, which is new art and just talking about some of the old factions. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So welcome back to Since the Old World, to another of our semi-regular, yeah, sure, whatever you say, man, updates on our ongoing work on Warhammer the Old World. Here's Andy Hroar from the Warhammer studio with more on the most exciting thing to hit the setting since, well, chunks of Morslib made planetfall. Ugh. All right, Andy, it's been quite a while since our last update, but that's how you know we've been extra busy. Our miniatures designers, painters, writers, illustrators, and graphic designers have all been engaged in a period of industrious activity, getting new miniatures designed and the main rulebook written, play tested, lavishly illustrated, and laid out. This truly is a gargantuan project with lots to show off, but now we want to give a glimpse of some of the amazing artwork the Warhammer the Old World's team of illustrators have been producing. I'm glad to hear that it sounds like they're playtesting. I'm still very nervous about what exactly the rule set is going to be for the Old World, because I just, I really want it to be fun. But it's kind of that thing where I know it's not going to be like 8th edition, I know it's going to be something notably different from that, because 8th edition had some very, very huge flaws, but I am very, very curious to see where it's going to end up, because when you just compare modern game systems like Age of Sigmar and 40k along with maybe fantasy where it left off with 8th edition, they are all wildly, wildly different from each other, and I just don't know how they're gonna land it. But anyway, let's get into it. The model of Warhammer has always been blessed. The world of Warhammer has always been blessed with the most lavish of artwork, but that's no excuse not to create more. Yes, please. The studio illustrators have been hard at work rendering classic and new miniatures into full color artwork. A key part of this process has been to identify exactly the correct look and feel for these new pieces, capturing just the right level of gritty, myth-inspired classic fantasy that much of this beloved city encapsulates. So here we've got a peasant archer of Bretonnia, looking absolutely gorgeous. And it's so nice to be getting new, oh, we got a 2 King Chariot. It's so nice to be getting new artwork for these guys after so many years. It's been almost a decade since Warhammer Fantasy ended. Not quite, but close. And especially seeing colored or painted Bretonnian art is such a treat, because it was pretty rare when going back to fantasy, because Bretonnia only got their 6th edition book. So back in those days, the army books did not have color traditionally. Like the only colored, or the only sections that would have like actual colors would be the model sections where you actually saw the tabletop minis, but all of the artwork in 6th edition and 7th edition, or no, 6th edition was black and white. I think 7th edition is when they first started doing colored artwork in the army books, and then in 8th edition they went to hardback because all the previous books had been softback. But in any event, so we got a peasant archer of the Kingdom of Bretonnia, wears the heraldry of his lord Gastil, the Red Hand of Brion. Peasant archers and men-at-arms wear mostly drab colors on their somewhat ratty clothes, with hints of main colors of their lord's heraldry. Looks great. So we know Gastil, the Red Hand of Brion. So I guess that's our first Duke we're hearing about outside of the King, King Louis. But I think it's King Louis at this time. I know they revealed in a prior thing, but The Tomb Kings of Kimry chariot sports the classic red and teal of Cetra the Imperishable. These are the colors of the city of Kimry, the great necropolis of the land of the dead, but each of Cetra's client kingdoms sports its own distinctive livery. For me, it's really, really exciting to get confirmation of the Tomb Kings being in the initial release. And I mean, this was pretty much confirmed with when they talked about Cathay, but I know one of my biggest fears when they initially announced Warhammer The Old World, just because of the name The Old World and the map initially only showing the Old World, I was actually scared that they were only going to do the Old World to start. Like, they were only going to focus on a small part of the Warhammer Fantasy world and then maybe expand it as we went. But with all the things we've seen from the Cathay map reveal to these Tomb Kings and such, I feel pretty confident we're going to be getting the entire Warhammer world, or at least the vast majority of it. I feel confident we're going to be seeing all the factions from Fantasy Tabletop, plus a handful more, you know, with Kislev and Grand Cathay being their own thing. Though I am curious to see just how many things are going to show up. I am very curious if the Vampire Coast is going to appear as its own standalone thing. I mean, they're so popular in Total War. But anyway, moving on. Like the humble peasant archer, this knight of the kingdom of Bretonnia wears the black and red of Duke Gastil. In his case, though, his raiment is much more sumptuous, bearing the white axe icon of Brion. Incidentally, the presence of the gold rim around the shield device on his barding marks him out as a knight of the realm. A more junior knight-errant would not be permitted this element. Oh, man, it looks so gorgeous. I still can't believe Age of Sigmar doesn't have knights. Like, it doesn't. Like, well, sorry, I'm going to rephrase that. There are no human knights. Like, there are knights for death, chaos, and destruction. Obviously doesn't really have the theming for knights, but order doesn't really have any like normal knights. There's no true descendant of Bretonnia in Age of Sigmar, which I always found so strange. How can you have a fantasy setting and you don't have, you know, your interpretation of the Rohirrim? You know, you don't have the massive army of brave knights with you know, horses with beautiful bardings or coverage or whatever they're called, and lances and plate armor and all that stuff, and it's just not a thing, which I've always found so strange. You know, obviously there's the kind of, I don't know if it's so much a, I guess you could call it a joke, but there's the whole thing where like the Flesh Eater Courts, which are the ghoul faction of death, think they're Bretonnia, like they use Bretonian unit names and titles and stuff. But they kind of started to lean away from that in the more modern stuff. It was really on the nose back when Age of Sigmar first started, but nowadays it's calmed down quite a bit, and they've expanded much more heavily into following like what Ushoran's up to and all this other stuff, and it's less poking fun at Bretonnia, more of its own thing, which I'm really glad for. But god damn, this art looks good. I'm so excited. Oh, piggies, big boys. This orc boar boy is shown simply doing what orcs love more than anything else in life, charging to battle without a care in the world. It wouldn't be Warhammer The Old World update without an update on the ongoing development of the setting. We've mentioned past updates that the new game would be set in an earlier point in the timeline, and we know people have been eagerly examining the maps for clues about what things are like in this particular point in time. I'm really happy to see an orc boar boy. This is one of the units that we've just lost in Age of Sigmar. Funny enough, we still have boar boys, but we only have savage orc boar boys as playable in Age of Sigmar, because the regular orcs being, or well, I guess not regular, but the Iron Jaws being the other prominent orc faction are very big. You know, they're all bigger than black orcs. They're huge orcs, or oryx rather. And the Iron Jaws do have pig boys, but their pigs are significantly larger. So all of the old Boar Boys models, except for the Savage Orcs, were discontinued because you couldn't really use them. They didn't really represent any of the currently playable factions. So I'm really, really happy to see Pig Boys returning, the classic Boar Boys. All right, so we have a notably expanded map, which I'm gonna open up and look in more detail here in a second. There's a lot more work to do, but we've recently added a number of emblems indicating locations important to the dwarves and greenskins, in particular up in the mountain ranges that cross the old world and in the northern reaches of the Badlands. Each icon is just the tip of the iceberg, with a huge amount of work going into developing the character and history behind each and every group and faction. I'm so excited. Oh, I'm so excited. Open. Oh gosh. Let me see you as you truly are. So I do wish we would get a higher render of this map so we could like really zoom in and enjoy. A part of me still wonders if maybe they're gonna leave the New World out to start, since they went through all the trouble of like kind of including that there are a lot of high elf towers and high elf settlements around the place. A part of me wonders if we're not gonna get the New World and any of that stuff to the left here for a hot while. Like, we know we're getting Cathay because we've kind of seen them, but you know, if they're gonna do Cathay and stuff, they could still heavily avoid a lot of the New World. They could just focus kind of on this stretch, but we'll have to wait until we get some more Chaos Dwarf stuff. So looking at who's been added here, so we have Karazakarak. Looks like we have Zufbar, or not Zufbar, Balakvar down here. Zufbar should be up. Okay, there's Zufbar up here by the Blackwater. We've got man, there's so many dwarf holds now. I'm guessing we have, trying to figure out what hold this might be. And this, I can't tell if that's a border prince or a dwarf. We've got, so there's the Evil Sons, or the Evil Sun is a greenskin banner here. Looks like we've got Beastmen notated on the map. I'm assuming this is Karakazul down here, and maybe, and that would make this Karak 8 Peaks. So it looks like we might have, but shouldn't I feel like Karakazul should be a little further east, but that might just be my brain struggling with the way that Total War has like changed. I haven't looked at like a traditional map in a while. It should be Ekron down here, but it doesn't look to have a playable faction at the moment. Because right now it does look like they're kind of focusing more on, they're focusing more on just the old world, but I guess they're going east and are going to kind of keep that line there, because we know we're going to have Chaos Dwarfs here, and this map doesn't show Cathay. We've got the Hobgoblin Khanate is actually notated on the map with a faction. Man, I really would kill for them to upload this map at like a massively higher resolution so I could actually zoom in and see shit. Let's see. Trying to figure out who else is over here. So we've got, looks like a line of, oh wait, yeah, that is border princes. Okay, so dwarves have the circles around them. So we've got Barakvar, Karakazul. I think that's Karak 8 Peaks, but at this point nobody should be there, because Belagar Ironhammer did not retake Karak 8 Peaks until like relatively recently. It was more like in the last, I'm saying like the last 60 years, definitely not the last 200 years. So it wouldn't make sense for this, but it looks like it looks like it says Karak 8 Peaks under here, where that's Karakazul for sure. This very well could be Karak 8 Peaks. I don't know what tribe this is supposed to be. They look like they're pretty close to, I'm assuming they're the tribe that's in control of Black Crag. Which Black Crag, I mean, Gorfang Rockguts tribe, which is the Red Fangs, are in charge of it. But that's definitely an Evil Sun banner. But I'm not sure which orc tribe that's going to be. Looks like we've got Night Goblins up here. So these must be the Night Goblins of oh gosh, Gundabad. Yeah, this must be not Gundabad. That's actual token. Mount Gunbad is right here. So Mount Gunbad is here, and it is one of like the preeminent Night Goblin factions. The big Night Goblin factions or like territories are Mount Gunbad and Karak Ungor, also known as Red Eye Mountain. So this looks to be Red Eye Mountain here. But it's interesting that the tribe banner is like green, because Red Eye Mountain should be controlled by the Red Eye Night Goblin tribe, but maybe someone else is in control at this point. But that should be who this is, because that's such a prominent place. This looks like the Crooked Moon banner, but it is super far away from Carrick 8 Peaks being down here. But the Crooked Moon Night Goblins didn't really become the preeminent force there for a long time. Interesting. Looks like and then we've got, okay, so we already talked about Zufbar here. We've got, oh my gosh, Karakadrin right here, guarding the pass. And then down here would be, I'm assuming this is Katakirn. And then, oh man, I actually need to look at a map for some of these. Kadak Norn over here, it looks like. Oh, we got the Broken Skulls tribe. Or I think it's the Broken Skulls is their name. But we've got a prominent orc tribe up in the Pale Sisters, so that's really cool. We've got, so if we got the Broken Skulls tribe of orcs. Nobody in Massive Oracle at the moment. At least not like a prominent faction. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly which dwarf holds this little list is. Some of these are definitely more minor than others. Because like the big bad of the Black Mountains is Katakirn, and I think it's this one, but it could also be this one. This one looks closer to Katakirn's actual colors, and the dwarf with the wings on the helmet definitely speaks to their iconography. But that has to be Carrick Norn, because they're the only big hold. Like, they're the only hold that you really want to mention in the Grey Mountains. And then down in the vaults, we have one dwarf hold as well. I will say there are significantly less... What the hell is that? I don't remember there being a giant eyeball in the middle of the Empire. Is that a Forest Goblin tribe? Oh god, I really hope that's Forest Goblins. I would be so happy if we were getting Forest Goblins in the Empire. I don't know what that is. Like, it looks like a Forest Goblin symbol, but because it has so much like extra stuff around it and it's vaguely in the ballpark. No, that looks too far east to be the Brass Keep. I feel like this is the Brass Keep over here. But I don't know, Anyway, I think that's Forest Goblins, because it looks like it's the circle shield of the Greenskins, but because it's got so much like extra crap around it, it's a little hard to tell. But it looks like, yeah, a lot of the Greenskin shields have a lot of like extra gubbins going on. Now, this is weird. Some of them have like this spiky stuff going around, like these two do. And then this one is just like a regular circular shield that doesn't have a lot of extra ornamentation. And this one's got all sorts of like spikes and crap coming out of it. This one is a regular circle. I feel like that's... I can't tell if that's just like, oh, that's just the way this faction does things, or if that's trying to communicate like what type of tribe it is. Like, oh, the ones with the crazy like roots coming out of them are orc tribes, and then the pure circles are night goblin tribes, and then the really weird one is forest goblins. I will say, I'm a little sad we don't see like a notated Savage Orc tribe like in the Badlands proper. But once again, I'm just really curious to where all this map's gonna go. It could be that they're just not showing us the Badlands yet because they're not ready to explore that far. Like they're literally just filling in the map bit by bit. Because we know this is not the only place that matters. Like they've shown us Grand Cathay. So obviously Cathay matters. And we've also seen that they leave the map looking like purposefully kind of blank until they turn their attention to that area in particular, and then they like fill it in big time, because Cathay or Kislev used to be like a lot more simplified, as did Bretonnia and Ethel Lauren and Lara Lauren up here, and then this forest as well. Looking great though. I am very, very excited. I am very happy that we're getting artwork. They've been really showing it off on their Twitter. So hopefully they're going to be giving us more as we're going forward. They do mention here that it seems like Warhammer the Old World is basically going to be coming out next year, would be my, I feel pretty safe in saying that, and we're going to be looking at it basically featuring as the big reveal and celebration for Warhammer Fantasy's 40th birthday, which it's crazy that Warhammer Fantasy is turning 40. And well, not just Warhammer Fantasy, but just Warhammer as a concept. You know, Games Workshop, I don't think they were called Games Workshop when they first started, but you know, this start of the Warhammer as an IP, you know, the grandsire, the grandfather of us all, the firstborn, the true king, will be celebrating his 40th birthday next year, which is just wild. And I'm very, very excited, but I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that we just finally got an update. I'm really excited to see all the new art. The art looks fantastic. I really, really like that it's gritty, but also has some really nice colors at the same time. And I cannot wait to see how this first book is going to look. I would assume that the first core rulebook is going to be like the classic Warhammer Fantasy rulebook, in that it's going to have like mentions of all the factions and really nice artwork and all this other stuff. I'm very, very curious to see how they're going to do things. I also saw that there have been a lot of like rumors coming out. Like, for those unaware, Games Workshop has basically turned into like a sunken ship of a company, by which I mean that they have infinite, never-ending leaks going on over there. There are entire army books and all sorts of crazy shit leaking far in advance of those things coming out, which is like, good lord. But I am very interested to see if the rumors are going to be true, because there's been some rumors with some names that I actually recognize from like way back in the day, of people talking about like they're going to be re-releasing old sculpts, like instead of just releasing an entirely 100% brand new range for Warhammer Fantasy, that instead what they're going to do is they're going to come out and basically go, look, here's a lot of your favorite classic miniatures being re-released in plastic, as they start to slowly transition us into Forge World taking over and releasing all their new sculpts. And whether, I don't know what of those are going to be resin, what of those are going to be plastic. It's probably going to be a mix. I imagine like all of the big characters and stuff are going to be resin, but you know, we're just gonna have to deal with it. Unfortunately, that just is the way that Forge World seems to do things, and we know Forge World is going to be handling this project. Because Horus Heresy, like, to my understanding, a lot of the rumors going into the new Horus Heresy was that it was all going to be plastic, and instead I think it's a mix. Like, there are some things that are plastic, but there are other things that are resin. I think a lot of like the basic units are plastic, but I think all of the characters and like big monsters and tanks and stuff are resin. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But yeah, anyway, this is a really great update. I'm really excited to see where they're going to go with it. I am growing increasingly curious about the scope of the universe and just where all they're going to take us. I really hope that they will maybe release some higher quality images soon of the map, but I assume they're kind of wanting to wait on that for as long as possible, because they're everyone's just gonna pick it apart. But in any event, I'm just really glad to get an update. Let me know what y'all think down below. For anyone, for the rest of this week, just real quick, gonna have a lot of videos and stuff coming out. We're gonna be doing videos on I think there's a patch coming out soon, so we'll probably talk about that for Total War Warhammer. I also am going to do my last video on mounts, which we're going to talk about mounts that I want to see added into the game that just don't exist in any capacity yet. And then I am hoping to get some lore stuff out to celebrate Halloween. That probably won't be this week, though. That'll probably be next week or the week after. And anyway, lots of stuff going on. So I will see you guys around. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.